So Argentina have officially qualified for the quarterfinal of the World Cup, where they will go on to face Switzerland, who also qualified for the quarterfinals after beating Colombia late last night. But the bigger thing is Argentina qualified after beating Egypt 3-2 in yet another controversial win. A win that is, according to many fans, eerily similar to the Netherlands game of the 2022 World Cup, and where Virgil van Dijk was left completely shocked and stunned, as many people have also pointed out again on social media. And if you do remember the last World Cup, there were many calls similar to these, that the games might just have been favored to some opponents, that the games might not be completely as transparent, a lot of problems with the refereeing. And although there hasn't been much of a problem with the refereeing in this World Cup, in fact, the refereeing, the officiating in this World Cup in 26 has been fantastic compared to other tournaments, compared to the Premier League, compared to some of what we've seen in the past few years. But still, this will stick out as a sore thumb. As if there were already questions regarding the refereeing since the Mexico-England game and the Cape Verde game and some other games. This is a game that actually have provided fans with evidence, and I do mean evidence, of refereeing potentially being favored against one of the teams, or at least not being completely transparent and not being completely just to both the teams in the similar manner. As good of a comeback as Argentina made, as much of effort that Argentina did put in, and they have a fantastic team. Whatever you want to say about their fans, about anything else, you can't deny that they have a fantastic team, they have fantastic players who can turn it up when required, and they did turn it up late on into the game. Enzo scoring with a header in the very dying minute of the game. But can you really say that it was a completely fair match? Can you really say that it was a game that would encourage people to watch and play football in the future to come? When you see things like these happen, to, let's say, smaller teams, not as popular teams, not as accomplished teams, in games where they have a fair chance, in games they perhaps might just have went on to do some wonders and write their name in the history books by eliminating one of the favorites for the cup, as Egypt did last night. Egypt were basically 3-0 up if the goal from Ziko hadn't been disallowed. And then Egypt went 2-0 up with Ziko scoring one of the best goals that we've seen at the World Cup so far. One of the best goals at the World Cup in the last few editions. And then it got disallowed. And it was the most shocking thing you could ever see, because it got disallowed. It was such a fierce goal. It was such a tremendous, fantastic goal. It got disallowed because of a foul about 20 seconds before the shot even went in from Ziko. And it was a foul on Martinez in the build-up, which in other circumstances, you would deem it to be a simple tug of the shirt. But if we are taking those small margins into play, into disallowing goals, and disallowing these kinds of goals that would go on to be remembered for years to come, I don't know how we can play football going ahead like this. And yes, Argentina did go on to make a fantastic comeback. They did go on to make an unbelievable comeback, but not without controversy again, because Egypt did score a second one. Ziko did score a second goal. He was on fire in those minutes. He was on fire in that entire game last night. But then Salah gets fouled. He gets entangled into one of the Argentina players in the penalty box. He falls, and yet the referee doesn't call for a foul. He doesn't call for a penalty to Egypt. And Argentina go on to score from Enzo Fernandez's header like 15 seconds later. That was the most unbelievable thing about it all. Because if we are going to take these small margins, these delicate margins into play, into deciding what goal gets allowed and disallowed, again, okay, you can say that Argentina made a great comeback. You could say that Egypt didn't protest as soon as Salah went down in the penalty box. But you have to consider that these things, these minor fouls, are simply considered to be a part of the game. They are simply negated as to allow the flow of the game. But in a game where you have disallowed a great goal because of such a foul early on, and you don't go on to do that for the other team, and don't disallow their goal, that just sets a double standard up. That just gives out a message to everyone that if you belong to a more accomplished team, a more popular team, and you are involved in a minor foul, you have the advantage there. And if you belong to a less popular team, if you belong to a less accomplished team, you wouldn't go on to live to see your goal being allowed. That just sets a double standard up. And this is what is so disappointing about this whole matchup. This is what is so disappointing about this whole ordeal, because we've seen this happen in earlier games. We've seen this happen in the Netherlands game in the 22 World Cup as well. And now after the Trump call for Balogun, now after all the controversies that there have been with regards to FIFA and President Gianni Infantino, after everything that has gone on in the past month or so, these are not the things that anyone can ignore and set aside at the moment now. These are not the kind of things that can be ignored anymore. These are not the kind of things that can be undermined anymore. And we've seen these things happen many, many times in the past. Nobody created much of a ruckus back then, because if you are going to give this much importance to minor fouls in the build-up, why not do it for both the teams? Why not even at least give the other team a chance to review their foul? At least give the other team a chance to have their position being reconsidered. But that wasn't done yesterday. And there were a lot of questionable decisions from VAR. And we've seen all tournament long how good of the refereeing, the officiating has been. We've complained that there should be this level of officiating in the Premier League, where the level of officiating has dropped in recent years, especially with regards to VAR. And yet the same thing happens at the international stage, at the biggest stage of them all. Would you expect these players to give it their all? They would believe that the game is rigged. They would believe that the game is tilted towards certain teams. But again, credit where is due. Argentina completed their comeback. Argentina proved their worth. They went on to score their golden chances, and now they are into the quarterfinals, where even if Argentina hadn't qualified, they would have gone out. With all the respect in the world. But now that they have qualified, they are going to face the world against them. They are going to have everyone in the world against them. Even if now they have qualified, and even if they do go on to go to the semi-finals, the finals, even if they do go on to win the World Cup again, it will be overshadowed by this game. It would be overshadowed by these controversial decisions. Everyone would feel that the tournament was rigged. The tournament was already decided for them to win. Even if it wasn't, this would be the mentality. This would be the widespread sentiment amongst all the fans, or the followers, and everyone that was watching. It was the most unbelievable of things yesterday. And I don't even dislike the Argentinian team. Whatever you have to say about their fans, that is one thing. But their team, it's a brilliant team. It has some of the best players in the world. If you were in Egypt's position, if you were playing for Egypt, if you were playing for Cape Verde in the other game, if you were a fan of Egypt, would you be saying the same things? Would you be believing in the same reasons? Would you be believing that this refereeing was, if not unfair, at least it didn't have a double standard? Would you be saying that? And if the game has turned so soft as these fouls can go on to disallow great goals, that needs to happen for every other goal then. Don't have it for just a select few goals. Don't have it for a select few events. Make that happen for everything that is going on in the game. But again, that didn't happen. And the game went on. The game, which could have been 2-2, could have been 3-3, could have gone on to the penalties. We'll never know. That is the thing. We'll never know how good of a game this potentially could have been. Maybe Argentina might just never have scored if Egypt would have been 3-0 up anyways. Anyways, that was it for the video. This is our signing off again. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to read my articles on football, sports, TV, film, culture, anti-AI stances, subscribe to the newsletter. The link is in the description below. Anyways, I'll see you guys really soon. This is our signing off again.